Hey everyone, Joyeux Noel, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Christmas, Happy time off from work, all of the above. Welcome back. My name is Sergio, and I'm a commercial photographer here in Victoria, BC. And on this very special holiday edition, I want to do a tier list on every photography niche that I could think of, based on how lonely the photographer is who chose that niche. Let's get into it. I feel like I've reached peak YouTube here. We're gonna go through D, C, B, A, and S, which are gonna go by D, which is gonna be the hobby photographer, person who joined this craft and realized they could make a little bit of money because they were a fan of a certain thing that just required the photography. C tier is gonna be for the office photographer, that friend that always has a camera on them at every event that you go to. You can always expect that friend to show up with a camera, something like that. B is going to be the struggling photographer. So the photographer who has a hard time in the field that they have, but because of that, they're probably only aware of other photographers and other people in their field, and those circles get pretty small and pretty tight real quick. Even furthermore, the A category photography niche is going to be for the photographers that are maybe successful and are making it, but that just means that their circles are getting even tighter and they don't have anyone outside of who they work with, let alone people that they fraternize with. And S, you might be thinking, okay, well, S, how is that? Is there anything left for the S category? For me, is going to be for those people that transcend all of the levels of fame and fortune, but somehow still get them anyway. It just seems like everything seems to work out for them. So we'll get into which ones land in which category. Tier list, photography niche, loneliness. Let's do it. So, part of taking it not so seriously, we're going to be sipping on some Four Winds Nectarous Sour. My favorite beer here in the west coast of Canada. Great little sour for people who aren't super into beers, and a very funky beer for people who are really into beers. So it's a good approach for both. Mind this horrendous pour. Jesus Christ. Sorry about that. Yeah, totally not sponsored, but hey, if anyone at Four Winds is watching this, I'd totally love to work with you guys, despite everything that's going on. And despite this pour, I don't want to be pouring for you guys, I swear. Not taking it too seriously. Where's the button? There we go. We're flashing. Ooh, sour. I realize I released these in the morning. You might be watching this and drinking some eggnog or something, but cheers. So first, photography career niche I pulled out here is going to be for skateboarding photographers. So the skateboarding photographer, to me, is definitely not the winning, successful, super niche S photographer. That's them for sure. But they're the photographers that come from the hobby and come from the group of friends, and they're just like the slightly nerdier one that just took towards this, this is kind of cool, this is kind of neat, or they realized at a very young age that they were just not quite good enough to do the thing, and they were like, I don't need to be as good if I'm just filming, so let me just pick up a camera and see what I can do with that. So that does mean you have a whole lot of friends, and you're definitely not very lonely. So you are, unfortunately, D tier skateboarding photographer. Moving on. Next, we've pulled up the birding photographers, people who like to spend a whole lot of time in the woods, in camouflage, waiting, because they've got a whole lot of friends, and they've got a whole bunch of people that they love to hang out with. The birding photographer is definitely the gear obsessed. Let me get the biggest, most expensive piece of equipment possible, and let me go hide in the woods from all of civilization for the next 36 hours. Maybe get a shot. You're a little lonely, buddy. You're gonna go, for me, as the office chap who just has all of the equipment, who's just always the person who's expected to have the camera around them. But you do have some friends that you're escaping from. You have an office that you're escaping from, which means you can't be as lonely as the super purist S-class photographer. So, C-class for the birders. Next up, we pulled up wedding photographers. Now, wedding photographers, you would think, life of the party, event guys. They love going out. They love having a good time because they're lonely and they don't have any friends to do it with themselves. So rather than getting invited to weddings by friends, you can just get booked to show up to weddings and then get paid to party. It sounds like a great thing. But you probably don't have a whole lot of friends, and you're probably only aware of other people in the industry, and you only know other photographers and other people that do very similar things to you do. So by that means, you're going to be a B photographer. I'm going to put you under struggling photographer, especially in the last couple years. I feel like that industry has taken a bit of a hit, but the photographers keep buying new and new equipment, and everyone seems to still be enjoying the craft because you're getting paid to party. Sounds like fun, especially for someone who's mediumly lonely. Move on. Food photographers. Oh, it's me. Food photographers, by experience and from the few that I do know, probably pretty damn lonely. To be at a certain level where you are obsessing over a type of photography that's so niche and so little and such a finite part of the grand scheme of things that you could be taking pictures of, you've got some obsessive qualities and you've got some obsessive behaviors that probably don't lend themselves very well to healthy relationships with regular human beings. So you're probably pretty lonely. I am going to throw you into A because you're so lonely that you probably, you know what? No, because our circles are pretty big. So I'm going to demote food photographers down to B. Actually, they're not necessarily stacked, but they are stacked in terms of loneliness because of how big our circles are. And thankfully, with food photography, we do have to have a lot of different groups of people in order to create our images. So we do end up knowing a lot of people, at least within the industry. Actually, that falls under them. We only know them through work. We definitely don't fraternize with these people. It's definitely more of a work thing. I'm gonna bump you back up to A. Food photographers. Here we go. Oh, food photographers. A. Oh, our first A. Next niche, we've got music, concert photographers. Ooh, I did a lot of music and concerts when I was first starting out. That was fun. Get like side stage access to bands that you grew up listening to and stuff. That's super fun. You two are definitely not that. Actually, you're probably not that lonely. If you're a concert photographer, I'm gonna go back to like kind of like the skateboarding photographer because you're picking this up because you enjoy the craft. You might have some friends in some bands that are like, hey, do you want to take some photos of us? Do you want to come on tour? You pick up this camera, you start learning it on the go. It's a little bit more of whatever's happening. As long as you can capture what's happening, you're doing a pretty much good enough job. And you don't need the world's best gear in order to create it, and it's very accessible. And I think if you're willing to put the time in, a lot of industries are just going to they're going to open up your gates. They're opening up their gates to you. Like I had access to a lot of big venues that I never thought I would just because I had some crappy DSLR like 10, 12 years ago. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Concert photographers, you are like the hobby photographer, so you're definitely going to fall under D because you definitely have friends. You've got a whole bunch of different circles that you can pull from. Photography is just part of what it is that you enjoy doing because of the access that it gives you and maybe a little bit of fun immortalizing those kinds of pictures. Car photographers, oh my goodness. I shot a lot of car stuff too. That's actually probably the first thing that I shot. Like the first reason I bought a DSLR was to photograph my modified car, my friends' modified cars, and it's a big deal in Montreal. It's a big like car culture. Anyway, car photographers. Again, I think we're gonna without repeating ourselves too much, we're gonna fall back under the concert and skateboarding photographer because you're getting into this because of the hobby and the craft, and you just enjoy the cars more than you enjoy the photography, and the photography is just a way to document what it is that you're a fan of. So you definitely have a whole lot of circles to pull from. You might be a little bit on the obsessive side, and you might be a little bit more on the, you know what, you also need quite a bit of money in order to access at least the car culture. So the photography world seems a lot less expensive. You know what, that's actually a good point. Photography is super expensive, but if you speak to car guys, photography is cheap. Like $3,000 is like, it's not even a set of coilovers. I don't care. So that's a good point. So you know what, your car photographers are getting bumped up to C because you're the office chap that's got the camera. You probably take a fair bit of enjoyment and care in your gear, and you enjoy the finer things in life, and you enjoy spending a little bit more money. So you're going to go and C, car photographer. I think this one is lifestyle. I was having a hard time choosing an icon for this. I think this was supposed to be lifestyle photographers. So lifestyle photographers surround themselves with friends and people. and aren't afraid to do so. They do it on purpose. So by nature, you're a lot less lonely, in my mind, than a food or product or still life photographer. You at least have circles of friends that you can pull from and ask for references and for models to ask to come and shoot with you and to do things with. So if you're a lifestyle photographer, I would say you're at least a B level, B tier photographer niche. Or am I, what's the scale again? It's been half a beer, okay? Yeah, all right. Let's put lifestyle photographers up into B because it's the hardest level of portrait photography in my mind. It's capturing like a posed candid. Doing that requires a certain level of like gab and just ability to talk to people and be friendly with people. And that takes someone who's a little bit less lonely than someone who's like just always in their head and doesn't like to talk to people. So you can't be at the top of the list. I'm going to put you into B. Newborn photographers. Newborn photographers, unless you're like 28 to 30, newborn photographers have to love people because that is your whole thing. And you're dealing with not only people that can't speak, you're so lonely that you'd rather spend time with people that can't speak, but you do have the ability to spend time with parents and spend time with 4, 5, 6 sets of parents in a single day, all to just, I don't know, get out of your own circle or run away from something, or I don't know what void you're filling by shooting newborns all day. But you're probably a lot less lonely than some of the still life guys and some of the other categories that are coming up because, yeah, you just have to be able to have this relationship with people. Again, I would probably put you somewhere near with like the events and the lifestyle. Okay, yeah, there we go. So let's put you in B. That would make sense for newborn photographer people. That is such a crazy thing for me. Like shooting pets in a studio or shooting newborn babies in a studio, probably the same thing. You're dealing like with the same amount of fluids and lack of attention and, ooh, shiny. Anyway, if there's any newborn photographers in the comments, let me know. Tell me what your tricks are for just keeping attention of your subject. I talk a lot about grabbing like a certain mood and a certain emotion out of your model or the person you're shooting with, or even like the product that you're trying to expose. But to do that with like a newborn that's like just a blob of a person, I can't imagine what it is that you're pulling from. So yeah, just, I don't know, hats on to you guys. Chapeau, comme on dit. B. Next up, we're going to go with real estate photographers. Now, real estate photographers is, I've often made the joke, I don't know if it's a running joke, but I often say it, so I apologize if it's not a running joke and I'm just like adding to making fun of these people. But I feel like real estate is a bit of like a lower rung photography. It's like an entry level thing. It's like something you just kind of get into when you're first starting out. You put a camera in the corner and you call it a day. You shoot a super wide angle and you just, that's it. But because of the ability to have such a streamlined process and that like as a home buyer, that is what you want to see anyway. So you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to get super creative and artsy with it. You just need to do it. And if you use that as like a business mindset, just shoot hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of homes and just do it as like a very robotic thing, you can have a super successful business. I'm just growing in my thought of, entry-level photographers. Yeah, but they can still be very, very successful. So I'm just like teaching my younger self through this video somehow. Real estate photographers, kind of coming in at it through the hobby though. Kind of coming at it as a very entry-level. You probably have a whole bunch of other groups of friends and relationships and circles. You definitely go to the gym. You've got like a fancy BMW and you've got like all of these kinds of different groups of friends and different circles that make you not lonely. So as a real estate photographer, you're down in D. You can go hang out with the skater kids and the punks, which, I mean, sounds like fun. Maybe I'll do it. Next, we've got, not to be confused with real estate, but the interiors and architecture photographers. And interior photographers will spend the vast majority of their time trying to convince you that what they do is not real estate photography. And by doing that, they are able to charge exorbitant amounts of money more than Mr. Real Estate. What came from that is a person who's a lot more obsessive and a lot more, maybe not ruthless, but maybe ruthless. Let's go with ruthless, is willing to put the business in front of, maybe not the ethics, but like, it's about the money, you know? It's like it becomes oh, no, there's a lot more than just volume here. There's creativity, and then creativity comes selling it and all of those things. The architecture niche is definitely hoity-toity, and hoity-toity people have smaller circles than skaters, let's just say. And the architecture interiors people, I think in order to be at that level, you kind of only know people that are in that niche. You only know other architects. You only know the designers. You only know all the people in your city of those different homeowners or home builders or commercial projects, types of contractors, things like that. So you're not super duper lonely, but you're definitely so obsessed in the craft because you're trying to make a little bit more money. So you're going to be a B photographer. Oh man, next we've got drone photographers. Are you kidding me? All right, drone photography, to me, okay. Well, my story with drones is that I always thought it was a fad that would go away, and it is like 10 years later and it hasn't gone away yet. And I'm still waiting to buy my first drone. But in my opinion, you're so lonely that you're putting goggles on and you're just flying above the clouds instead of talking to people. The thing is, most drone photographers that I know are on the hobby end just because it's a cool piece of tech and they're like, ooh. But people who make money as drone operators, they are super elite and super high end, and they basically only know people in the industry, and it's a whole other super like fancy world. Like it's a very, very business end world, and those people are super lonely. You're so like your goggles in a field lonely, and yeah, the only people that you do communicate with are usually through work, and you're definitely not fraternizing with them unless you're, you know what I mean? So, drone photographers, as a twisting turn of events, I thought I would place you guys down low. But I think drone ops, you know what? No, I've got to put you in A. I've got to at least put you in A. I was going to put you in S, but I think I got to reserve S for, like, S has to be reserved. There's a different money component for the S tier in my mind. Yeah, we'll see if we even get to an S in this. We've only got a few left, so we'll see if we even get to it. Sports photographers now, you guys are definite athletes who just love basketball so much. And you're like, man, how can I get side stage to that concert? Now, sports photographers like football, basketball, golf, F1. Now, you're definitely lonely in that you're willing to watch the game from the sidelines instead of actually playing it, but maybe you just realize that it's a little bit easier to just buy a camera rather than to do the actual effort of playing the sport, learning how to be good at the sport. I'm just going to learn the camera. No shame in that. That's what I did. But the sports photographers, you're always in a pit. You're always around other people, just like the music and event guys. You're always around other people, and even if you're only fraternizing with them at work, you're definitely always communicating with people, and you've got a few other groups of friends that aren't just photographers. If you're a sports photographer, I guarantee you go to the gym. I know most photographers watching this probably go to the gym, and the other 30% of you that don't go to the gym probably tell people that you do go to the gym. But sports photographers, you have gym friends. You've got friends in the actual sport that it is that you play. You're not as lonely as some of the best of them. So, sports photographers, you're going to go back down in the hobby down here. I don't want to list them this way. Not necessarily. They're kind of not in an order. They're just up, down, not necessarily left, right. You know what I mean? Next, we've got photojournalists. Oh, I have such a respect for photojournalism. You guys are so cool and so lonely that you're willing to go across the world to a place that nobody knows your name, nobody knows you exist, and most people don't even want you there to begin with. And you're like, oh, this is cool. I saw some dude do it 35 years ago. It was a picture of some kid, and his house was on fire behind him. I thought it was really neat, and I wanted to go document that. So I'm going to do it myself. Photojournalists are a little strange. There's a strange calling to me. The draw towards it is insane. And I have such an immense respect, and I wish that maybe one day I'll be able to dip my toes in that water. And not necessarily war photography, but just like photojournalism in general. There's just such a calling to these people. And you know what? I think we're just going to go right ahead and say it. We're going to put photojournalists up in the S tier because money and fame is not something you care about, but it follows you and it will come to you and it will be attracted to you in this field if you do it for 47 years and you're super lucky that you don't die and that your images are acclaimed and that all of the things actually fall into place. There's just a strange allure to photojournalism. So you're going to go S tier. So any photojournalists in the comments, congratulations. You are amongst the loneliest of all photographers. Say hello. You might not, out of nature of your lonelinessism, but if you are, say hello. I'd like to say hi back. Next up, I think this was for commercial photographers or product photographers. Yeah, product photographers. That makes more sense. Tabletop. Product photographers. That's me again. I'm not going to give it a whole bunch of difference than the food, but at the very least, you have a few more niches that you're willing to accept and you're willing to shoot in, which means you might have a few more friends and a few more circles. So you know what? That is going to be a difference. And we're going to go from A to B. We're actually going to put you in B tier, Mr. Product Photographer, which brings us to Mr. Event Photographer. And the event photographers get to cheers to that. All right, event guys, you are secret, lonely as well. Did you know that? It's easier to get invited to an event when they need a photographer. But when you're the person who is pissing off the host's boyfriend, you might not get an invite. So by being a photographer, you're kind of solidifying yourself as an in to all of these parties. So you're probably pretty lonely. You're hiding something. You're filling up your Saturdays with events from random strangers instead of events from your friends because you probably don't have any. So event photographers also probably pretty lonely. We're going to go ahead and put you over here into B with the, hilariously enough, most populated group, which makes you a little bit less lonely that way. Next up, we've got portrait photographers. Now, portrait photographers, you're also finding yourself in a situation where you rather spend time with a stranger rather than with friends or with this craft, this hobby that it is that you're creating. That does mean that you're spending time with models, agencies, creative directors, makeup artists, stylists, fashion designers, and a whole bunch of people in different sectors, different worlds, different groups of different circles, different groups of people that just opens up your world. And you have to have a bit of that relationshipy talk, that ability to just be able to communicate with people and just have like a conversation with people. So even if you are lonely, you're at the very least able to fake it, and you're doing so pretty well. So I'm going to put you, you know what? I'm going to put you similar to, yeah, you know what? I think we're going to put you in the B tier as well. Landscape photographers, you're kind of like a birder, aren't you? You're willing to just go out in nature, and rather than spend your time looking for something else that's at the very least having a conscious thought, you're taking a look at these dead leaves that are on the floor and you're like, whoo, they've fallen in such a nice pattern. As a landscape photographer, as a person who shoots maybe cityscapes, we'll throw cityscapes down in there as well. But anyone who shoots outdoors things that don't move necessarily, you're probably pretty lonely, but you're also coming at this from a hobby-ish perspective. You're coming at this from a Facebook group. You're doing photo walks and meetups with complete strangers that become your friends because you just enjoy doing this on the weekends when you have a nice sunset, when it's a pretty day. Oh, I feel inspired. Let's go take some pictures today. Your ability to create whatever it is that you want, where it is that you want. It's fun. I love the spark of it. You do have a bunch of friends that you do it with. You're the office chap that's got the camera, that's expected to always have a camera with them. You're like the little nerdy guy who just loves the tech of it all. So by definition, you're falling under C. Wildlife photographers, similar vein to the landscape people, but a little bit different in that at the very least, you're looking for something with a pulse, something that's moving, and hopefully something to take you out of this misery that is life and that you can, at the very least, be less lonely by no longer existing. This is taking a turn. It's the holidays. I'm sorry. Let's not go there. Wildlife photographers still pretty lonely though, because you rather spend time in a ghillie suit in the middle of nowhere rather than being with your friends or being with, well, maybe you probably don't have many friends. You might be coming at this from a hobby perspective, but if you're getting at the wildlife level, you're spending a whole bunch of money you're investing a bunch of money in your equipment, and you didn't just pick this up on the side because you thought it would be fun. You're obsessive, and you're like, oh my goodness, I need to see this tiger at 750 millimeters, please, or else it doesn't count. So by that means, you're going to be bumped up from D up to C. So wildlife photographers, you join the birders and the landscape people. That makes sense. You see, I'm relatively consistent in my grading, I feel like. C tier for you guys. Which leaves us to the final and last category for street photographers. Now, you obviously have a soft spot for street photographers, so you know this. So you're automatically inducted into the S tier Hall of Fame, which is the street photography tier, because I think street photographers are as pure and as artsy as it gets when it comes to photography. At least the ones who are making it as a career, you're the type who didn't care about the money, didn't care about the art, didn't care about the fame, didn't care about any of it, but it somehow all found you anyway. I don't know anybody who makes a decent living as a street photographer, but there's a whole lot of people who make a killing in street photography. Maybe not a whole lot of people, but there's definitely some people who make an absolute killing in street photography. And I don't think they ever set out in order to do that. It's just what it is that they do. And they wouldn't be able to, they just needed to figure it out for themselves. And they wouldn't have been able to do anything else but what it is that they do. And I think that's a bit of the Goldilocks zone of any successful entrepreneur, but especially as successful photographers. If you can find something that is authentically you, that you would do whether or not you were being paid to do it, over time, maybe 30 years worth of time, but over time, the more you do it, the more you obsess it, the more you fine-tune it, the more you get better at it, the more that fame and fortune will find you eventually. If you're second-guessing yourself because of what it is that you're experiencing or that people are telling you, or that like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, or I should be doing that instead, or whatever, like, that's probably a good sign. That means you're probably on the right path to doing something that is not traditional and is outside of the mold, which is going to carve a space that's unique for you. Because we don't want to be carbon copies of everyone else. We want to be unique versions of ourselves, and we want to be something that only we are. We want to be lonely. We want to be the loneliest possible version of ourselves, so like that, I don't know, other people feel bad and that they want to hire us and give us money for it. I don't know. Is that a good enough tie-in? I don't know. We're gonna wrap it up on that. I think we're gonna tie it in like that. That's about as a ribbon as we can put on it, as we can put on it. Yeah, I don't know. I hope you guys like this video. Enjoy your holidays. Enjoy your dead period between now and the 31st or the 1st if you're watching this when I actually release this. Yeah, I don't know. See you guys in the new year. Actually, I have a video probably coming out on Monday, which is not the 1st yet. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you guys liked it. Subscribe if you haven't. And I'll see you guys in a couple days. Later.